Leaders with the Waukee School District are not happy with the state's guidelines for when to move a school to totally virtual if coronavirus spread is substantial in their community. Joining us now is Superintendent Dr. Brad Buck with Waukee Schools. And Superintendent, thanks for being with us.
You bet. Thanks for being invited.
Absolutely. Your your school board issued a statement on Monday night saying that it will not be following the state guidance that was put out earlier on what the threshold is for coronavirus spread, the positivity rate. Now, the state has set this number of 15 to 20%, and it sounds like folks in the Waukee district are having a problem with this. What is the problem?
Yes, that's correct. So we have been doing work trying to better understand what that positivity rate would look like in terms of keeping our students and our staff members safe. And so we believe that number is lower. We're working through those details on a matrix for the board on Monday night, but we believe that the numbers that have been put in place at 15 and 20% are too high relative to what we would be comfortable with in terms of having our schools open and not fully online.
Okay, you certainly are not alone. There's been a lot of criticism of that 15% number, and I believe there are other school districts that are probably contemplating the very same thing that Waukee is. Are you going rogue from the State Department of Education? Have you ever been caught in a situation like this where you've been in such direct conflict with some guidance that they've given you?
Well, I think this one's a little bit interesting. We have been asking for guidance from the state on a matrix like this. And so when this came out, we were optimistic when it came out. But then when we had a chance to read it and saw where those numbers were, we immediately became concerned. And so, you know, the governor in a press conference today is talking about that we're in conflict with the law. And what I would say is we are not in conflict with the law, nor do we have any intent of being in conflict with the law. We very much want our students and staff in school. We very much have plans that will place kids either in brick and mortar or online because the parents have chosen, which we appreciate the governor has allowed that flexibility. Our real concern here is the interpretation of the application of this law through the guidance we've been giving. We think this guidance is completely inappropriate as it relates to the implementation of this law.
Okay. You know, this is interesting because you have been the director of the Department of Education before under the Branstad-Reynolds administration, so you know intimately from both sides what's going on here. Are they in a tough situation trying to make decisions for all the school districts across the state of Iowa, or do you just feel like flat out they made the wrong call on this one?
Yeah, so they are in a tough spot. I think the overstep here in terms of not allowing local control on this decision making has put them in a difficult spot. They really aren't staffed, and really when the Department of Ed is working in conjunction with the Iowa Department of Public Health to put out guidance like this and then to implement it and provide permission around it, that really isn't the role of the government, of the Iowa Department of Education. What really should be happening here, in our opinion, is guidance gets put out so people understand, and I guess reasonable guidance needs to be put out. And then local school boards that have been locally elected can dig into that in their context and understand if it's time to go to a fully online model and for what duration of time. So an example of that specifically would be, this is all guided by a 14-day rolling average in your county. And that could be impacted by something that you're aware of in your county. So let's say a food processing plant, heaven forbid, has an outbreak and that substantively changes the number, for example. That may or may not, that likely would not cause Waukee to necessarily move to fully online, regardless of what the number is doing. And the converse is also true. So when we receive guidance that really is out of line with anything we're reading in terms of reasonableness, and we weren't allowed local control to think through what this means in our context, I think that's where we just said, this is unreasonable to us and we don't intend to follow it.
Okay. Final question. Your board has voted to go, to go its own way with regard to positivity rate, and when they'll decide to move students to online or in school. I imagine teachers and staff are 100% behind that. What about the parents? Are you getting any feedback from parents knowing that this could keep some kids out of the classroom and at home more and affect their lives?
Yeah, so as you might guess, my inbox is especially full today, and it's probably running 8 to 10 to 1 in support of this move, and that's a mix primarily of parents in our district. And our real hope here is we're not trying to be political. We're not trying to be into a political conversation. We're not trying to make any kind of statement here. We're simply trying to keep our students and staff safe, and we're simply interested in local control to make the decision about when, if and when we should be in a fully online environment.